to be chatting with you and thinking about favorite holiday memories of Christmases past. And my word I'm going to use to describe my favorite holiday memory is anticipation. All of the anticipation and lead up to the big day on December 25th in our house was really exciting. But on the actual day of, I think I would start rousing myself around 4 o'clock in the morning, which is probably around the time that my parents finally finished wrapping everything and tried to get themselves to bed. We had this pocket door at our house in the north end of Peterborough that remained closed, and that door was like this impenetrable barrier that we couldn't get through, even though we could have just easily slid it, my sister and I, and gone through. But we waited at that door until my parents both did their ablutions and got ready, and then my dad would slip out on the other side of it with the big Super 8 camera and that crazy flash light that would blind you. And then when he was ready on the other side of it, my mom would open up the door and we'd go rushing out to all of those incredible and anticipated gifts and excitement of things from Santa Claus and from my folks. And I just remember the real joy of that and all that anticipation leading up to it. And I still try to do that for my family, especially for my daughter now. And I hope that all of you get to spend time with friends and family this holiday season. I know these are wild days, but my wish to everyone is just some quiet time, some peace, some love, and some joy. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody. I'd like to share some Christmas memories from some local elders that I interviewed in November of 2000, Gordon and Irene Mike and Harold and Lillian Lund. And my question to them was, tell me about the Christmas concert that the schools would have. They were a big deal, weren't they? Harold said, yep, school always had a concert at night. Some of them would give a recitation. And then there would be 4 or 5 of them would put on a bit of a play, dress up. Gordon said, when I went to public school, that's down on the university on the highway, That's where I got my BA. Anyway, there were only 4 of us in the class. Douglas Clark and me and my sister and Dorothy Anderson. There were just 4 of us. And Dorothy and Esther would always be 90-91%. They'd always be close together. But Doug and I, we'd be 50-51%. I don't think I got above 50, and neither did he. Well, tell him about the fella, Gord, that got up to recite at the Christmas concert. What about it? He just got 2 lines out, remember? And that's as far as he ever got. Oh, that was Doug Clark himself. Christmas comes but once a year and always has as yet. Then he'd look all around. Christmas comes but once a year and always has as yet. That's as far as he ever got. Never could remember after that. He'd have it fine all day at practice, but he'd get up there, he couldn't remember anything. And the school, just about the size of this room, and a stage on it. We'd walk around behind a curtain with boots on our hands as though we were walking on our hands. Put boots on our hands and walk behind the curtain. See the boots up above it. Oh, Harold said, and then Santa Claus used to come. Gord. And another one they had a light behind this guy operating on somebody behind the curtain. Do you ever see them do that? A white sheet. And they'd be operating on this guy, and they'd pull ropes out, and it'd show the reflection on this white sheet, you see. Harold said, well, then Santa Claus used to come afterwards, and he'd always have a story to tell. He got stuck someplace. Bill Lund, he used to be quite a Santa Claus over in Carmel. He'd give everybody a present off the tree. Yup, he'd give out presents to everybody. That's my Christmas memory from local elders. Thank you.
Hello and Merry Christmas. Today we're sharing memories of Christmases past, and I have a few that actually, if you've seen Kim and or Robert's stories of Christmas past, tie in a bit, just by chance. So my first is some of my fondest memories of Christmas and Christmas time and Christmas celebrations are around Christmas pageants, church pageants and school pageants, and Christmas parades. So my grandfather ran a dairy farm, and he would always be in charge of getting together a Christmas float for our church. And so myself and my friends and some of my church friends and family members would all come together and decorate a big, flatbed truck with a big, I think they were usually used to transport cattle. And we would all decorate this, and we'd get on our parents' bathrobes and make makeshift head coverings, and we would be, shepherds or the Virgin Mary. And one year we actually did this. It was we weren't on a float, but it was a moving nativity, and so people would come through to our church and they would go through the nativity scenes and we would have to act out scenes. But I do remember, I think it was with my Sunday school class when I was about 6 years old, we were acting as part of the nativity scene, but we had live animals. So we had a donkey and a cow and a few lambs. And I remember my Sunday school classmates being very resentful of the fact that we had to stay frozen in tableau, but that the animals were allowed to move. And then just another quick story, I too, like him, would always really anticipate, of course, that moment going in to see what did Santa get me. And Santa would always leave gifts out, so he would wrap some gifts, but the biggest gifts would be kind of put out in a really nice display. And one Christmas when I was around 7 years old, I was up, I could hear that Santa had finished upstairs, I couldn't sleep, and I thought, I think I'm going to go sneak a peek. And I snuck upstairs, my bedroom was downstairs, and like Kim's house, I had the pocket door, and I just opened it up a crack, and I looked through, and I saw the Barbie Dream House and the GT Snow Racers, and I popped it back, and feeling very guilty, ran downstairs, went to bed, or tried to go to sleep. But it was not the same in the morning when we got up and waited for Mom and Dad to get ready, and we went out. It just wasn't the same magic. So that's a cautionary tale to those of you who may be tempted to peek. It's not worth it. Thanks, everyone, and happy holidays.